So, City of Gangsters genuinely surprised me. I went into it expecting a fairly standard management sim, and I thought I'd record for maybe an hour, like I usually do with a first impressions video, get some footage, move on. Instead, I ended up playing for 8 hours straight. Yeah, this game hooked me hard. Now, before we get started, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you want to see more reviews like this one. It really helps out the channel, and it lets me keep covering games like City of Gangsters. Now, let's jump into this. City of Gangsters puts you in charge of building your own organized crime empire during the Prohibition era. You start out small, maybe brewing a little home brew in a basement, but before long, you're running a network of fronts, drivers, breweries, gambling dens, the whole operation. What I love is how open-ended it is. You can go the obvious route of selling alcohol and building your reputation as a bootlegger, but the game doesn't force you down this path. I'm not sure if this is actually possible, but in theory, you could stay completely legal. You can sell barrels and syrup and bottles and stuff like that instead, and it wouldn't be nearly as profitable, sure. A steel barrel might go for around $5. I think that's about as expensive they were in the game, while a single cask of homebrew sells for $8. But the freedom is there. The game lets you decide how far into the criminal world you want to dive. One of the most interesting mechanics is the relationship system. People don't automatically trust or respect you. You have to earn it. Now, you can try to go up to unknown people and try to like buy from them and stuff like that. You could try to earn their trust, and that's possible, but it's difficult. The better someone knows you, the more they'll be willing to do business with you. You can use favors with people who already like you to build connections with others, maybe to get new buyers for your booze, or to find someone willing to sell you materials under the table. Those favors can even help you open a new front, collect protection money, or recruit a new member into your crew. It's such a smart way of representing the social web of organized crime. You're not just moving products, you're managing people, and those people matter. And those people will ask you to do favors for them, by the way. There was one time I set up a front, and this one person was like, I asked for protection money, and they're like, okay, well, whatever, I guess. And they didn't like me. But then they were like, you know what? If you really care about the community, then why don't you fund this event that's going on at some local baseball stadium or whatever it is? And it was like $750, and I'm like, oh yeah, no problem, because I'm supposed to be doing that, offering them protection money for the community and everything. And I did that, and I earned their trust. So they're like, okay, now I don't have a problem with paying you protection money. That's awesome. I love that system. The presentation fits the setting perfectly. The soundtrack definitely deserves a shout out. It's got that classic easy listening jazz and swing that immediately puts you in the 1920s mindset. You can almost picture the smoky speakeasies and backroom deals while you're managing your routes and expansion. Visually, the game is clean and functional. It doesn't need to blow your mind with graphics. The atmosphere, music, and interface all work together, and they make the setting feel alive. And honestly, I have to give this game a huge shout out because this game is 1 gigabyte, okay? In a world of games that take 100 plus gigabytes to install on your machine, this game is 1 gigabyte and accomplishes so much with that 1 gigabyte. I've got to say, I'm thoroughly impressed. What really sold me on City of Gangsters was how open-ended and systemic it is. I built my own little empire completely my way. I had one delivery driver whose whole job was to buy jars, bring them to my home brewery, pick up the finished homebrew, and deliver it to my buyers, and then it would deliver the excess homebrew to a bootlegging business that I had. Another one handled moonshine, and finally at the very end of my time, I had bottled beer. One guy, my favorite, just drove around and collected protection money from all of my fronts, which means that I didn't have to do that myself. He just did that, and then he funneled that into my gambling den, which was another business that I had. It ended up being like the heart of my operation. It was busy, profitable, and it felt like the perfect centerpiece for everything that I'd built. And the best part was the game lets you make all these choices yourself. There's no script and no predefined playstyle. You're rewarded for being creative and experimenting with your own setup, and no two people will build the same setup. There's no defined railroad progression that you're meant to go in, like first you have to make homebrew, and then you have to make moonshine, and then brick wine. There's a lot to learn, but it's all logical. You're juggling supply chains, relationships, cash flow, and law enforcement pressure. I actually kept them off my back because I just stayed within one defined area and there's one patrol officer there, and I just paid him off every time the time came. So I never had to deal with that very much, but that system does exist and you do have to cultivate relationships with law enforcement. But I also really appreciate how slow the game lets you play if you want to. I'm not someone who likes to expand fast. Even in strategy games like EU4, which by the way is my favorite game, at least until EU5 comes out, I prefer slow and deliberate growth, and City of Gangsters caters to that perfectly. I spent hours just optimizing my routes, and I was fully upgrading my operations and making sure every dollar was accounted for before I moved on. I didn't even start producing moonshine until about 6 hours in, and that was my second kind of alcohol. It's the kind of game that rewards patience and careful planning, which I love. That said, the game is not without flaws. There was one bug in particular that cost me a lot of resources a couple of times. It's actually possible to upgrade one of your operations to a lower tier, which is actually a downgrade, but it costs materials to do it, and it's presented as an upgrade. And this is a problem because several times I thought I was upgrading my operation and I was actually downgrading it. I didn't realize what was happening, so I accidentally wasted a lot of money and supplies. It's confusing, but I hope it's something that eventually gets patched. But it's the only real issue that I ran into during my 8 hours. Aside from that, the game ran flawlessly. The amount of freedom this game gives you is just phenomenal. There are so many different ways to make money. Alcohol, protection, gambling, goods trading, and you can mix and match them however you want. You could honestly run a whole empire without touching alcohol if you wanted to. Every time I thought I'd seen everything the game had to offer, I found something new. A new contact, a new way to expand, a new scheme to try. It's the kind of game where you just keep saying one more turn, and then you realize it's 3 in the morning. Yeah, this is just that kind of game where you just have to keep playing. It's just too addicting. This is a fun game, man. Now let's talk price. City of Gangsters normally retails for about $30, and I'd say that's fair for what you're getting. There's a lot of depth and replayability here. I also have to add that my whole playtime was in the city of Chicago, and it was like an extension of the tutorial. So I played the tutorial, and then after you're done with that, it's just like, okay, we'll leave you on your own now if you want to keep playing. And my whole time was in Chicago during that tutorial. There's other cities to play in. So, like, there's more replayability beyond that. But as I was writing the script for this review, the base game is actually on sale for $5.39, and at that price, wow, that's a steal, especially for a gamer like me. For that cost, you're getting hours upon hours of engrossing strategic gameplay. It's hard to imagine anyone who enjoys management or simulation games not getting their money's worth here. And apparently there's DLC too, which I didn't even know about until I started writing this review. That's dangerous for me, because I'm definitely going to end up playing this game more, and I am going to be looking into these DLCs because this game is just too fun. I've got to know what else the game has to offer. In the end, City of Gangsters completely won me over. It's smart, methodical, it's genuinely fun to play. It gives you the freedom to build your own criminal empire however you want, whether that's through alcohol, gambling, protection, or all of the above. The relationship system is deep, the soundtrack nails the mood, and the gameplay loop is addicting. Aside from that one annoying bug, there's almost nothing I'd really criticize here. If you're into management sims, economic games, or you've ever wanted to try running a Prohibition-era alcohol empire, I can recommend City of Gangsters without hesitation. Especially on sale, but honestly, even at full price. Just that good. That's my review of City of Gangsters. I didn't expect to love this game as much as I did, but it really hooked me. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, give it a like and subscribe for more reviews and first impressions. Thanks for watching. And now, if you'll excuse me, I've got some protection money to collect.